As a zombie, I had no interest in humans at all. In fact, I was so obsessed with weightlifting that I couldn't tear myself away from it. Because I had a very strange system. Every time I completed each training set, the system rewarded me with bonus attribute points. After finishing my workout feeling hungry, I went to the third floor of the supermarket to look for supplies. Then a strange scent caught my attention. I turned my head and saw several wooden shoe racks stacked around each other. From the outside, they clearly looked human-made. But then another problem arose. If I encountered humans, how would I communicate with them? I couldn't speak myself, and they probably wouldn't know sign language either. I was thinking this when suddenly the shoe rack next to me fell, and at that very moment a shadow rushed towards me. Its speed was much faster than that of a normal human. A cold glow emanated from the blade in its hand and struck straight for my throat. Seeing this, I immediately turned my body to the side and dodged the blade. Standing in front of me was Lin Fan, the survivor. He stared at me in terror, never imagining that a sneak attack from such close range could be a dodge. And most surprisingly, I was so many times stronger than any zombie he'd faced before. Besides Lin Fan, he was accompanied by a young girl, a mother and her son, an old man, and a middle-aged man in a suit. Lin Fan stood in the way, and everyone else hurried out. Only one old man remained standing in his place, unmoved. I observed the situation before me. Then, raising both hands, I began gesturing in the air. I wanted to say that I wouldn't harm them and tell them not to be afraid. But seeing this, Lin Fan's face became even more serious. I must admit, you've lost your mind. You want me to leave and leave someone else behind? Don't you want to make the situation worse? I was about to gesture again when Lin Fan suddenly ran towards me. The steel blade in his hand swung towards me again. At that very moment, the middle-aged man who had just left suddenly came running back. He picked up a watermelon knife and stabbed me straight in the back of the neck. Seeing this, I raised my leg and kicked Lin Fan hard. He flew back, breaking the shoe rack and falling. Immediately, I turned around and attacked with a knife. Before the middle-aged man could even land a blow, I ripped out his brain. These human survivors had gone too far. They didn't even give me a chance to speak. But now their lives were in danger. I couldn't stop myself. At that very moment, the old man with lifeless eyes suddenly picked up Lin Fan's knife and ran towards me. But I didn't give him any respite. The next moment, a loud noise resounded and the old man also fell to the ground. Seeing this, Lin Fan's eyes immediately filled with killing intent. Without a moment's delay, he charged towards me again. Hey brother, have you gone mad? You guys attacked first. All your blows were aimed squarely at me, and now you're blaming me. Does everyone really think that simple people can be easily subdued, I grabbed Lin Fan's wrist, placed my other hand on his chest, and delivered a shoulder throw. The next moment, he fell away. As he fell to the ground, Lin Fan's vision went dark. He felt as if he'd been hit by a car. Shards of broken glass left countless cuts all over his body. The zombies nearby smelled the scent of blood and then rushed towards him like crazy. Seeing this, just as Liu Weiwei was about to leave, she saw everything. Lin Fan quickly ran away. I also reached the broken window and looked down. Lin Fan ran forward, knocking out several zombies along the way, and in the next moment, he disappeared without a trace. Although his strength wasn't as great as mine, he was far stronger than ordinary humans. Could he be this world's destiny's child? Now that the rivalry has been established, it must be completely resolved. I was about to jump down and chase him when Liu Weiwei said, I know. You understand me. Eat me first, flesh from my body. But I paid her no attention. I jumped straight down to the ground, then exerted both my legs and set off in pursuit of that man. Half an hour later, I returned to the supermarket. Seeing me, Liu Weiwei immediately retreated in fear, but she was relieved that Lin Fan was not with her. Then I opened my mouth and started gesturing with my hands, sometimes pointing at her, sometimes at the ground. Liu Weiwei couldn't fully understand what I was saying, but she could sense that my intentions were not evil. It was just that I looked a little scary. Mr. Zombie, you want me to stay here, I said, right? I nodded with satisfaction. Finally, I found someone who understood my sign language a little. After a while, I found paper and pen and began writing in earnest. Seeing this, Liu Weiwei became even more perplexed. When she saw me writing, her mouth dropped open in surprise. I saw my sloppy handwriting. It was really difficult to do such fine work after becoming a zombie. When I handed her the notebook, it read, I'm a good zombie. It's safe here. Upon reading this, Liu Weiwei was overcome with strange emotions. She didn't know how to express her feelings, but she still mustered up the courage to ask me, what happened to that Lin Fan you threw down? No. I continued writing with my head bowed. I couldn't catch him. I must admit, he was a little luckier. Several times, just when I was about to get close to him, the zombie horde would awkwardly push me out of the way, and by the time I emerged from the zombie nest, he had long since disappeared. Hearing this, Liu Weiwei breathed a sigh of relief. Even the mighty Mr. Zombie couldn't catch him, so perhaps he was safe. After that, I stopped paying attention to Liu Weiwei. I transferred all the attribute points I'd just received to my mental attributes. In an instant, my thinking ability increased exponentially. Then I told Liu Weiwei to dispose of the other 2 corpses. I wasn't interested in such things. However, Liu Weiwei's face turned a little sad. But humans living under the same roof have to follow rules. Does that mean these zombies don't eat humans? Perhaps our entire team misunderstood him from the beginning. And that's why the situation escalated to the point where everyone died. But regretting it now wouldn't help. That very moment, I handed him another note. It said, "Go change your clothes." I then left and jumped out the broken window. Only then did Liu Weiwei realize that his short-sleeved shirt was completely soaked. The skin underneath was faintly visible. His handsome face turned slightly red. But then he thought, what difference does it make if a zombie sees me? Maybe it's like cats or dogs seeing me. Them. I had come out for one purpose only, to fight zombies. After all, fighting is a form of physical exercise. I took 2 knives from my backpack and charged straight into the zombie horde. Night fell as we fought like this. The roars echoed outside all afternoon. Shijilu was terrified, but he still looked down. I was indeed 2 kitchen knives in hand, chasing and slicing other zombies. Liu Wei knew that zombies forage together at night. If there's not enough food around, they attack their own companions. Does he want to make this entire area his territory? So that no other zombies come here? Am I now his property? Mane's property. While thinking this, Liu Weiwei saw that I had returned. As soon as she saw me, she stammered, "Zombie, Mr. Zombie, zombies become more aggressive at night. You won't eat us, will you?" I nodded. My mind was filled with question marks. Then I took a palm-sized radio from my backpack and placed it in front of Liu Weiwei. As soon as I placed it, a song started playing. Now here's See Sky Sky. Seeing this, Liu Weiwei became even more confused. Some zombies use radios too. The song played for about 10 minutes. Then suddenly the radio stopped. Greetings to all survivors. This is a radio broadcast from Gathering Point Number 1. Now listen to the latest news. The Kyoto research team has discovered a method of artificial awakening. The awakening ceremony will be held tomorrow afternoon. All ordinary citizens can voluntarily register as awakened participants. It seems the awakened people arrived in this world a long time ago. But the researchers truly deserve praise for discovering a method of awakening through artificial intervention in such a short period of time, and that Lin Fan must be an awakened one. It's just that his true level wasn't yet known. Afterward, I went to the men's section. After changing into a new set of clean clothes, I left a note for Liu Weiwei. It read, "Take a quick rest, it's safe here." Seeing this, it became even more difficult for Liu Weiwei to understand the zombie gentleman standing in front of me. You're just a zombie. Is it really necessary to pay so much attention to appearance? Afterward, I went to the gym on the 2nd floor and began working out with a 100-kilogram barbell. After exercising all night, all the attributes on my status panel had finally changed completely. At this moment, I could clearly feel the drastic changes in my body. The world seemed to slow down before my eyes. I figured I could now fight 10 of these people at once. I've thoroughly tested myself last night. Now it's time to go to the city center and assess the situation. A team of 5 was gathered inside an office building near the city center. All members of this team were awakened. The special zombie that Captain Kalshaw brought information about should be somewhere nearby. But I haven't sensed any unusual presence yet. The young man called Captain had a serious face. The intelligence of the special zombies has evolved. Catching them won't be easy, but they're extremely important research material. They must be brought back at all costs. Meanwhile, I'm monitoring the area below with binoculars. A team member suddenly shouted excitedly. The captain has spotted a zombie wearing a backpack on the road. He's constantly observing the surroundings as he walks. It seems he's our mission target, and he's almost there. This awakened squad knew full well that the zombie in front of them was at least captain level. Ordinary firearms wouldn't be able to cause fatal damage to him. So one of the team members took out his RPG rocket launcher. The only order from above was to capture him alive as quickly as possible. But we all know that a squad can't capture a captain-level zombie alive. Even after death, his body would be extremely valuable for research. Meanwhile, I was still searching for supplies. I had no idea that danger had come so close to me. I was just wondering one thing: why were there so few zombies around? Suddenly, a flame of fire shot towards me from a distance, and as I looked at the humans standing on a distant rooftop, alarm bells rang throughout my body. I immediately rolled to the side. What harm had I done to you all? Luckily, I escaped in time. The attack only left a few white marks on my skin. If it had hit me directly, I might not have died, but my entire skin would have been torn off. Seeing this, the captain's face turned extremely serious. He didn't give me a moment to recover. One of them began to transform. He transformed into a half-human, half-wolf. Flames ignited in the hands of the other two, and finally the first one to speak closed his right hand slightly, and an ice blade formed in his hand. At that very moment, the werewolf's massive claw swung toward my head like a sharp scythe. Seeing this, I immediately stepped aside and simultaneously swung my right fist with full force directly at the werewolf's stomach. Its massive body instantly flew into the air, smashing through the door of a shop behind it, naked. His life and death were now unknown. Seeing this, the captain's eyes widened in shock. Old Liu, after becoming a werewolf, possesses almost max-level strength and possesses an extremely powerful self-healing ability. But with a single punch, the other man had rendered him so unconscious that his survival was uncertain. The captain immediately panicked and shouted, "The information was wrong. Retreat immediately with Old Liu. I'll stop him." But the other team members hesitated even after hearing him. Seeing this, the captain's face grew more serious. "Go quickly. This information must be brought back at all costs. This zombie's strength isn't captain level. To be honest, it's quite possible he's commander level. Even all of us together can't fight him." Meanwhile, I began to observe them carefully. It was clear the person speaking was the leader of this team. This man was far superior to the guy from yesterday, and they were all awakened. No wonder they dared to roam freely. I thought for a moment, then decided to finish them all off right there, because now I was a zombie. No matter how friendly I was to humans, there was no guarantee the person in front of me wouldn't have any ill intentions. Moreover, they had launched a sneak attack first. I wasn't so good-natured that I could let someone attack me and let them go with a smile. The next moment, my body shot forward like lightning. I lunged straight at a man using fire. But the captain, upon seeing this, roared angrily. His speed suddenly increased exponentially. He raised an ice blade and slashed at the back of my head with full force. As soon as I caught it, its coldness instantly slowed my movement. Before I could react, another flame came toward me. I first shook it off with my hand and dispersed the flames with all my might. Then, holding the ice blade, I punched the captain. In an instant, he formed another ice blade and tried to stop the battle. But the next moment, both ice blades broke with a loud noise. Everyone present was stunned by this. But the captain didn't even have time to scold them. "Don't stand there. Run. This zombie is definitely commander level." This time, everyone obeyed without argument. One team member picked up Old Liu, who had returned to his original form, and turned and ran with the others. But hearing his words, I paused for a moment. Captain level, commander level. Is this the awakened strength system established by humans? But the captain didn't last long. I grabbed his throat tightly. By this point, he was completely at his limit. His entire body looked extremely weak. The surrounding zombies gathered at the noise, but not a single one dared to step forward and eat him. Eat him? The captain laughed lightly. "I know you understand what I'm saying, but don't be too arrogant. My comrades will definitely avenge me." I wasn't interested in listening to his nonsense, and I simply twisted his neck. Then, casually, I threw his body towards the zombie horde. By then, the other 3 team members had crossed several streets and reunited with their female team member. Although this female team member was also an awakened, her ability was support type. Her perception ability wasn't very strong. That's why she hadn't joined the zombie siege. As soon as she saw the team members return, panic clearly appeared on her face. "Where's the captain? Why hasn't the captain returned yet?" Team member bowed his head and said, "That zombie was very powerful. The captain is probably staying behind us, giving us cover." He lowered his head further in shame. Meanwhile, after eliminating the captain of the human squad, I received 10 attribute points from the system. Truly, the more difficult the battle, the easier it is to earn attribute points. Just then, a giant figure blocked my path. He held the corpses of the recently escaped human squad members. He picked them up and threw them directly in front of me. His roar, though full of challenge, was surprising. I was able to understand what he was saying. He considered me his boss, wanting to join him. I rubbed my chin and looked up and down at the huge zombie standing in front of me, standing over 2 meters tall. Before he could understand anything, I suddenly grabbed his shin, lifted him up, and threw him to the ground with a thud and the ground with a thud. Initially, the giant zombie went mad with rage. He resisted with all his might. But after a brief struggle, he realized he couldn't stand me. His roar slowly turned into a plea for mercy. Meanwhile, of the 5-man squad that had attacked me at Gathering Point 3, only 1 member returned seriously injured and with crucial information. Meanwhile, the giant Juby, the cause of this entire incident, had now become my new younger brother. Just then, Leo Waiwai saw me return. Only then did she breathe a sigh of relief. She hadn't slept all night. It wasn't until I was out almost all day that she finally got some sleep. As a human, she longed to go to the human gathering point because living under the protection of a Juby had always seemed like a dream to her. Meanwhile, the giant Juby and I quickly arrived at the gym. I didn't waste any time and started training straight away. I would jump up, do exercises, and constantly drag him along. Seeing this, the giant zombie was completely stunned. "Kill me. But don't insult me. I'll fight you to the end." But just 5 minutes later, that same giant zombie lay on the ground begging for mercy. Just then, a system notification sounded. Combat training complete. 1 attribute point earned. I looked at the giant zombie I'd beaten 5 times. He lay on the ground. He looked as if he'd given up hope in life. All I could say was amazing. Then I started some cardio with several 100-kilogram barbells. Then I completed another set. With each set, my attribute points increased. Getting stronger was truly addictive. Soon it was night again. I knew full well that zombies go crazy at night. So I left my younger brother at the gym and returned alone to the 3rd floor of the supermarket. I wrote a note and threw it to Liu Weiwei. It read, "Tomorrow we'll be relocating." Liu Weiwei nodded. "Okay, everyone will listen to Mr. Zombie." The reason for the move was that the meat was running out faster than I expected. As my strength increased, I needed raw meat more than ever. Just then, a middle-aged woman panicked and said, "No, I can't leave here. If I leave, who will bring my baby formula? My baby is only 5 months old." The woman mustered up all her courage. Only then did she dare to look into my pale eyes. But I only glanced at her once. Then I wrote another note and gave it to Liu Weiwei. He read it and said, "Mr. Zombie says you can stay here. At least for now, this place is safe." The woman immediately asked, "If you're not here, who will protect us?" Then Liu Weiwei said, "Sister, just think about the times we live in. Do you really expect a zombie to protect you? If it had been another zombie, he would have eaten us all alive by now." I paid no attention to their words. I turned and went downstairs. The woman still wanted to say something, but Liu Weiwei immediately stepped forward and shut her mouth. "Just don't say a word now. If Mr. Zombie gets angry, he'll eat us all." The woman shook off his hand. Her eyes were red. "I just want my child to live." Hearing this, Louis' heart melted. Suddenly there was a loud explosion. The shoe cabinet in front of the broken window flew away. A huge zombie rushed straight through the window, its sharp claws flashing like lightning. In the next instant, the middle-aged woman sitting on the ground was pierced by its claws. She hugged her child tightly to save him. But the zombie's claws ripped through her back and exited her chest. The child narrowly escaped. Then, the zombie slowly lifted the woman's body up. Please, but just as the giant zombie was about to make its next move, a figure arrived at it with even faster speed. Only one by one, the other giant zombies fell away. I looked at the zombie standing in front of me. It had completely changed from the day before. More furious and chaotic than ever. Is that the reason for that strange danger sense? But I didn't give it a chance to explain. First, I landed a powerful punch on its head. Then, pinning it to the ground, I began to rain down punches. "It's so powerful," Liu muttered. No wonder Lin Fan couldn't defeat it. Then he remembered something. He immediately bent down and picked up the crying child. I kept beating the giant zombie for several minutes. Then that familiar voice came back. "Boss, don't kill me. I made a mistake," I said coldly. "If you do that again, I'll kill you right here." The giant zombie trembled with fear. It shrank back down, looking utterly helpless. He knew he'd made a mistake by trespassing into the boss's territory. He'd angered him. This beating was entirely his own fault. But even as he left, he carried the middle-aged woman's body away, knowing the boss didn't like to eat human flesh. I then pulled several shelves and placed them in front of the window, he said. Passing by Liu Weiwei, I glanced at the child in her arms. Liu Wei was frightened. She thought Mr. Zombie might have a liking for small child flesh. She hugged the child even tighter. But I simply threw her a note and went downstairs. It read, "If you're scared, come upstairs." After reading the note, Liu Weiwei felt it was probably safest to stay with Mr. Zombie. But as soon as she reached downstairs, she saw a scene that stunned her. Had I come to the wrong place? Mr. Zombie was listening to music on the radio and working out. Are zombies these days even that disciplined? The next day, the first thing I did was pack all the leftover meat from the supermarket into my bag. Then I wrote a note for Liu Weiwei. We were leaving in a few hours. If you don't want to come with me, you can stay here. But after yesterday's incident, Liu Weiwei thought the situation over calmly. If she had stayed here alone, the zombies might have eaten her at night. But in the past few days of living together, Mr. Zombie had never eaten humans, and Mr. Zombie was a little gentle too. Liu Weiwei kept telling herself this. When we left the supermarket, a few zombies were roaming around. They certainly saw Liu Weiwei as a human, but none dared to approach. It was only because the aura emanating from my body naturally scared them. Soon we reached the gym. Of the 6 powerful male zombies there, only 2 remained, but they were exerting more pressure than ever. Perhaps after devouring each other at night, they had already evolved and developed intelligence. Now even these 2 muscular zombies had been adopted by that giant zombie as their juniors. Both of them looked at Liu Weiwei with lustful eyes, but afraid of me, they made no move. Shortly after we left the supermarket, 2 men dressed in different clothes arrived. One of them was Lin Fan. A few days ago, he had narrowly escaped death at my hands. Later, he was saved by this new squad, and this time he had brought these espers. His intention was to kill me and save Liu Weiwei from my hands. But at this moment, Lin Fan's face was extremely serious. His eyes were filled with intense hatred. He couldn't see Liu Weiwei anywhere. He thought perhaps the zombie had already eaten him. All these zombies should be dead. A cold glow rippled through his hand. His body blurred and he entered the supermarket at lightning speed. Every zombie he passed was killed with just one blow. When the other team members tried to stop him, the captain stopped them. He'd been holding himself back for a long time. Let him vent some anger. Meanwhile, we had arrived at the 24-hour gym I'd found yesterday. Liu Weiwei and the other women had already set up their new base in the gym's locker room. The sky slowly began to darken again, and I was working out outside Liu Weiwei's room to protect my younger brothers from the night's madness. Suddenly, an emergency broadcast came over the radio. Kyoto Gathering Point. Special species zombies have appeared at number 3. Attention all gathering points and survivors. Never trust zombies. They're no longer the mindless monsters they once were. They're no longer part of our race. Stay united. The Kyoto research team has developed a special cultivation method for the awakened. Unknown factors can be actively absorbed through certain methods, strengthening extraordinary abilities. However, this process carries some risks. After listening to this broadcast, I drew 2 conclusions. First, commando-level zombies can now communicate with humans normally. Although my strength was now equivalent to that of a Tier 2, according to this system, I was still only in the first stage. Second, humans can also absorb unknown factors through certain methods, continuously increasing their strength and extraordinary abilities. Hearing this news, Liu Weiwei looked at me with a confused look. Mr. Zombie, is this really happening? She was completely shocked. Just then, a loud roar was heard in the distance. I went to the window and looked down. Wow! My number 1 younger brother was running with more than 10 zombies behind him. They all had very strange looks. It was clear these were all evolved zombies, and everyone had reached first year. I immediately jumped down. As soon as I landed, all the zombies around me looked at me. Then one by one, they bowed their heads. Good job. Keep up the hard work. Number 1, little brother proudly roared twice. The next day, while I was exercising, my underlings were causing a ruckus outside. Special species zombie Chippy. A large group of cold ice zombies was marching through the city like a procession, defeating every opponent wherever they went. Only a little over half a day had passed, and they had already recruited 30 first-year zombies. Mediocre zombies nearby were terrified by the mere sight of this group. No one dared to confront them. But then suddenly, a massive 4-meter-tall zombie appeared before them. Behind it stood more than 10 special species zombies, and in front was a late-stage second-year zombie. I, on the other hand, was completely unaware of all this. I was also exercising comfortably. But now the attribute points I was gaining from training were slowly dwindling. If this continued, it would take another 2 days to reach the 2nd tier. My underlings couldn't withstand even a single move of mine, so the speed of attribute enhancement had also slowed. Just then, I heard a familiar roar. I turned and saw those 2 muscular zombies running towards me, shouting for help as they ran. Boss number 1 is in trouble. I was inexplicably happy to hear this. So that meant he had found a zombie stronger than him? Great. I also needed a good punching bag. Meanwhile, the giant zombie held number 1's head like a chick. He wanted to make him his underling, but number 1 flatly refused. Seeing this, the giant zombie raised his punch again. Just then, a figure arrived at the scene with lightning speed. The roar made all the zombies nearby tremble. You dare to kill my younger brother? Then get ready to die. The next moment, I collided with a giant zombie with full force. I only took a step back, but the giant zombie's right arm was completely crushed. Taking hidden damage, it became enraged. Initially, we were fighting evenly, but the system was constantly sending notifications. My attributes were constantly increasing with each battle. Meanwhile, the giant zombie's condition was getting worse every second. Suddenly, it used all its strength. I thought it would risk its life. But in the end, it turned out to be a coward. It simply turned and ran away. Its other followers also ran away. But I didn't chase them. One reason was the intense hunger after the constant fighting, and the other was the warning I received on the radio that morning. Until you know if the opponent is planning an ambush, caution is the best option. After all, zombies have become more intelligent than ever. After that, I picked up the badly injured number 1 and brought him back to base. From him, I learned that the giant zombie also had a boss, and that its boss was most likely a 3rd realm zombie. On the other side of the mall, the same giant zombie was kneeling before a smaller zombie. You mean to say that a very strange zombie appeared and you were defeated? In such a situation, I cannot abandon my master. Take half of the 2nd tier zombies with you. Go quickly and eliminate it without delay. The strange zombie he was talking about was me. This was the most crucial time for Lord Zombie's advance. How much effort and resources had been invested in the initial stages. Now, at no cost could everything be allowed to go to waste. Every hidden threat had to be eliminated. A short while later, I realized that a dozen zombies of varying sizes were advancing towards me. None of them were weaker than number 1. Indeed, that same giant zombie had returned with a dozen second-tier zombies. This time its attitude had completely changed. The arrogance in its voice was evident. Surrender or die. The two muscular zombies standing behind me trembled with fear. Perhaps the strength of the people in front of them was too great. But before the giant zombie could attack, I ran straight towards them with lightning speed. The giant zombie was stunned by this. He thought I would run away after seeing such a large group. But I attacked first. First, I threw a powerful whip kick. It hit the red zombie in the face. It flew straight into the air. I didn't even have time to think. I blocked the second zombie's massive punch with my backhand. Seeing this, the giant zombie's heart raced wildly. A glint of greed appeared in its eyes. If it were brought to face with the boss, it might be able to reach his level. Soon I started to panic. But then the system notification sounded again. The strange thing was this. Even while being beaten, I was enjoying it. It's done. It's finally done. Standing upstairs, Leo Waiwei was thinking nervously. If Mr. Zombie dies, even if the zombies don't eat me, I'll die of starvation. Hearing the sounds of fighting from upstairs, Leo Waiwei peeked out the window. His face went completely white with fear at the sight before him. At that very moment, I finally completed my 100th attribute point and successfully advanced to the early stage second tier. In an instant, boiling strength surged through my entire body. I suddenly grabbed the zombie's head and punched it with all my might, with a devastating impact with a death. The zombie flew straight out of the battlefield. For a moment, all the other zombies were frozen. How did this strange zombie become so powerful so quickly? It's simply unfathomable. Now, the powerful bodies of these second-tier zombies felt as light as paper in my hands. Less than 5 minutes had passed, and only that massive zombie remained on the entire battlefield. Its right leg was broken. Its massive body had crushed everything inside the shop, turning it into rubble. It was either get up and fall, or die. I stood on the massive zombie's chest, staring down at it. The massive zombie couldn't understand. My body was so small. How could it possess such immense strength? But it assumed I was stronger than it had anticipated. Still, in its opinion, I probably couldn't even compete with its boss. But it was a different matter altogether. So it chose not to bow down to me. I didn't waste any time with it. I transformed my palm into a blade and struck it squarely on the head. Its eyes widened, and it stared at me. Then its life force slowly began to drain. Liu, standing above, was in complete shock, especially when he saw me killing a zombie many times larger than he was. I don't know why, slight admiration for me grew in his heart. After this battle, I felt I had achieved a great deal. First, my strength had made a breakthrough. Secondly, it was now certain that my strength had surpassed the second tier. But whether I had reached the third tier was still unclear. Then suddenly I felt the ground shaking. This immediately made me realize something was wrong. Although the effect was mild here, the tremor was palpable inside the large shopping mall in the city center. Haha, Lord will definitely succeed. Sea City will become our territory forever. No, the whole world will be ours. At that very moment, a reconnaissance team was present at a distance. One of the male members of the team suddenly vomited blood. I sensed the presence of the owner of that roar. Such a vast ability far exceeds the commander level. It's quite possible that it was a legendary tier charge zombie. It seems it has found us. Let's go quickly, but the next moment, all three of us fell to the ground together. Their heads had vanished without a trace. Our Lord hasn't fully awakened yet. We won't let ants like you ruin his plans. After a while, I realized that there were far fewer zombies on the streets these days than before. The overwhelming call I'd felt at first had vanished completely. This left me quite perplexed. Mr. Zombie, hurry up. The child is dying. Hearing this, I leaped to the second floor. I saw the child in Liu Weiwei's arms, his breathing growing weaker. How could this be? Would a child die simply from a stomach ache? But I always felt that this child had something to do with the current turmoil. It was as if something in the air had become more active than ever since that earthquake-like tremor. But given the current situation, it was almost impossible for this child to survive, or he would have to turn into a zombie on his own, as there were no conditions for treatment at the moment. Letting the child accept the infection himself was perhaps the only way. I extended my left hand, broke off the tip of my index fingernail. My grayish-black nail was coated with putrid blood. I placed it directly into the child's mouth. Mr. Zombie, we have no other way now. But can't you do it a little more normally? The previous method was too abrupt and too disgusting. But surprisingly, the child, whose breathing had just become so shallow, began sucking on that disgusting-looking nail with his tiny mouth. Slowly, his heartbeat grew stronger again. Even his teeth began growing at an incredible rate. Wait, how was it growing so fast? Although he knew that the bodies of people who became zombies changed. He had even seen people infected with his own eyes. He had no idea that infected children could grow up so quickly. Not only him, but I was also completely stunned. I reached out and picked up the child, who was still changing. Then I pointed towards the changing room and signaled Lu Wei to go back first. But the next moment, the girl suddenly opened her big, adorable eyes. She held my hand tightly. Dad, now I'm even more confused. Is this a zombie or a human? How can she speak? If it's a zombie, it's clear it can't be a normal zombie. And if it's a human, it's only been half an hour, yet she had grown to the size of a 7 or 8-year-old girl. Her sharp teeth didn't look human at all. At that very moment, the little girl clung to my left side. She said innocently, "Baby, I'm hungry." I immediately pointed to the backpack lying near the changing room door, then loudly said, "There's food over there. There's food over there." The little girl truly understood what I meant. She jumped down but stumbled a little, still not used to her new body. She was about to walk away when she suddenly remembered something. She turned back and grabbed my little finger. Her face showed no desire to part with me. Seeing her, I had no choice but to follow her. She carefully picked up a bottle of milk and brought it to my mouth. The little girl didn't resist at all. For a moment, I was completely confused. Zombies don't drink milk, so should this be considered human? Hearing the sounds outside, Liu Weiwei couldn't contain her curiosity. She opened the door slightly and peeked out. When she saw a 7 or 8-year-old girl drinking milk, her mind went blank for a moment. The little girl also noticed the crack in the door. She looked at Liu Weiwei, peeking ahead. Then, smiling, she said, "Sister, I really feel like complaining after hearing this. I shouldn't have called her mom. How did Liu Wei become a big sister after all? I was just thinking about becoming a father when I was about to open the window. After all, the girl had grown so much. She couldn't be left without clothes forever. Toys and snacks were essential. Everything was available at 0 yuan anyway. I didn't feel sorry at all. But the next moment, the little girl came running to me. She grabbed my leg tightly and stared at me with wide eyes. "Daddy is leaving me." I was completely speechless. Then I lifted her onto my back, and we both flew out the window, leaving only Liu Wei's shocked face behind. After a while, I picked up any clothes I could find and put them on the little girl. Then I took some more clothes for her and put them aside to send to the base. But just as I was about to go back down to train, this girl came running with astonishing speed and grabbed my leg again. I had no choice. Finally, I let her sit beside me and watch my training. Those zombies weren't harming her, after all. But this little girl had no intention of sitting still. "Papa, let's go." Underling number 1 returned by noon with over a dozen first-year zombies. He noticed the little girl's curious gaze. He gently touched her head with his slender finger, as if confirming whether the girl in front of him was like him. "Why can't you touch me?" Underling number 1 was a little scared, and immediately pulled his finger back. How could this girl speak so clearly? She might not be very strong, but one thing was certain, a familiar aura emanated from her body. Underling number 1 looked at me, who was still training, with wide eyes. Can zombies have children? This question completely burned out his CPU. I paid no attention to the conversation between the elder and younger. I simply ordered Underling number 1 to take the zombies with him and find some snacks and toys. It didn't take long. Underling number 1 picked up a few things and returned. He threw a badly injured zombie dog in front of the little girl. Underling number 1 had to struggle quite a bit to catch this zombie dog. The zombie dog was bigger than most dogs. Its mouth was filled with extremely sharp and dangerous teeth. The sight of it left me speechless. Is this a child's plaything? I was about to scold my underling when I saw the little girl happily patting the zombie dog's ears. The zombie dog roared angrily and lunged at it, ready to bite it. "Dog, you're such a rascal!" The little girl scrunched up her nose and slapped it hard. The zombie dog was completely stunned by the slap, its jaw twisting. It looked at the little girl in front of it, who now seemed taller than it. The zombie dog began to doubt its entire dog life. I never thought this girl would be so fearless. But no matter. At least she won't bother me again and again as long as she likes. The little girl wasn't at all shy. She jumped onto the zombie dog's back and happily started playing dog riding. A few days later, I noticed that the number of zombies on the streets was steadily decreasing. It seemed as if the zombie crisis was about to end. But those unknown factors in the air hadn't diminished at all. In fact, they were still gradually growing stronger. Suddenly, I realized something. I could now talk like a human. Do only third-year zombies speak human language, or does the ability to speak only occur when a spirit reaches a certain level? At that very moment, after the friendly interactions of the past few days, the zombie dog had become completely obedient to the little girl. If it dared to show its teeth, it would be taught a lesson immediately. I lovingly stroked its little head. Then I said, "Now that you're my daughter, you should have a name. From today, your name will be Chan Xian." Hearing this, the little girl jumped up with joy. She ran over and hugged my leg. "Okay, now I have a name too. Thanks, Dad." Standing above, Liu Weiwei was shocked again. "Mr. Zombie can talk now. Only third-tier zombies can do that. Only they can speak human language." But I was thinking about something else. Should Leo Waiwei be sent to the human settlement? To the humans? With my strength, even going near the human settlement wasn't too dangerous. And as for that very lucky Lin fan, I've got your girlfriend. To safety. Let's consider this little rivalry between us over. Just then a loud thunderclap was heard from somewhere in the distance, accompanied by the sound of continuous gunshots. The intensity of the sound made it clear that this couldn't have been the work of a few people. My face turned serious. I picked up Chan Shanhan and the others. I leaped onto the roof of a nearby building. I glanced in the direction of the sound. A crowd of humans could be seen as far as the eye could see. At least 1,000 survivors were present, all wearing combat uniforms. They were accompanied by dozens of modified armored vehicles. Each one was equipped with machine guns and heavy gun barrels. The noise from the humans was immense. How could I possibly resist witnessing such a grand spectacle? A slight curiosity began to rise within me. I was just a spectator from afar. Maybe I'd get a chance to witness the battle between the third-tier fighters. It would make it easier to gauge my strength. Meanwhile, Flash Mountain, as massive as a mountain, stood across the shopping mall. New zombies were constantly emerging from its mounds of flesh. It couldn't just produce second-tier zombies. On the other side, in front of the human camp, stood over 1,000 different types of zombies, some with large boils, all over their bodies. It seemed as if they would explode at any moment. Some had arms like giant broads made of mana. Others were extremely small, but their speed was terrifying. On the human side, 5 third-year experts entered the fray, and they too were held back by 5 third-year zombies. Meanwhile, I finally managed to leave Jia Yanhan with Lu Wei. This time, no matter how much she cried, it was of no use. While the humans were fighting the other zombies, I arrived directly in front of Flash Mountain. Seeing it from the front, I was stunned. How could I kill such a giant? Where could it even go? Even a third-tier attack was like a tickle to it. But for some reason, this Flash Mountain standing before me seemed so delicious to me. The feeling was very strange. Suddenly, several tentacles emerged from its exposed mana. They tightly gripped my arm. I felt a slight pulling force in them. They were trying to absorb me. Incidentally, I also wanted to taste it. I freed myself with force. Then, using my hand as a blade, I cut off a large piece of flesh. My eyes lit up with a single bite. This flesh was far more delicious than rotten meat, and my hunger intensified. My attributes also began to increase steadily. But just as I was about to eat again, I felt a strong gust of wind from behind. The next moment, I crashed directly into the flash wall. My vision suddenly went dark. A moment later, a faint light appeared. Before me was a wide tunnel made of flesh and blood. It was about 10 meters wide. Had I entered Flash Mountain? I looked deeper into the tunnel. That familiar, inviting feeling began to pull me in again. About 7-8 meters ahead, the flesh wall suddenly cracked and a portal-like crack opened. 3 zombies with extremely powerful auras emerged from within. In the forefront was a humanoid zombie. On either side of him was a distorted-faced zombie bull and a strange zombie. It had the head of a dog and the body of a cat. Zombie bull said to me coldly, "Stranger zombie, our lord has little interest in you. From today on, you two become a part of our lord." Hearing this, I thought to myself, what can subjugate even third-tier zombies? Could this Flesh Mountain really be a 4th-tier zombie? Suddenly, the humanoid zombie pounced on me at lightning speed. Its speed was incredibly fast. Its strange punch was probably the same one that had attacked the snake outside. But my reaction was even faster. I dodged its punch filled with strong wind and landed it directly on its chest. The humanoid zombie flew away. Seeing this, Zombie Bull was slightly shocked. How could this be? Why wasn't your power suppressed? After all this was happening inside their lord's body. There was always a power here that hindered the power of those coming from outside. In fact, I too had felt that power in the beginning. But that power couldn't penetrate my skin, so I didn't care. At that very moment, the dog-headed and cat-body zombie realized something. Now I understand why our lord is interested in you. Suddenly, I smiled and looked at the 3 zombies. If your strength is suppressed, you 3 would be like sandbags. The humanoid zombie stood up again. He looked at his sunken chest. I admit I was careless just now. But do you really think you can fight us? Attack together. Kill him. Back outside Flash Mountain, no one knew about the battle going on inside. The 5 commanders and 5 third-tier zombies fought for a long time. Finally, 3 third-tier zombies were reduced to ashes. The 2 remaining zombies looked at each other in surprise. They hadn't expected a third-tier human expert to have developed his ability to this level. Both of them immediately turned and ran towards Flash Mountain. The commanders looked at each other and discussed for a while. Finally, they decided that to kill the 4th-tier zombie, they would have to go inside it. Here, inside Flash Mountain, I looked at the corpses of the 3 zombies lying on the ground. One's head was completely shattered and another's body was torn down the middle. Then I looked at my sunken chest. I easily broke a piece of flesh from the wall and put it straight into my mouth. A third-tier zombie alone was weaker than me, but all three together could still pose some threat. Luckily, I constantly grow stronger during battle. Otherwise, it would be difficult to tell who would ultimately win. I moved forward several hundred meters. Then those same three familiar faces appeared before me. I looked at them with mild surprise and said, "You guys are alive again." The humanoid zombie laughed. "I admit you're powerful and quite special, but that's all. We're immortal. Every time we die, our Lord gives us even more power. I'm giving you another chance. Surrender to our Lord. Offer your body to him. Our Lord is very generous. He will grant you the power of immortality." But the humanoid zombie couldn't even finish his sentence before everything went blurry before his eyes. The next moment, he fell away again. "Damn it, you zombies, why do you keep talking such nonsense? I don't understand where this habit came from. Do you all have a tendency to show off?" After this, the four of us zombies engaged in a fierce battle again. I could clearly feel that the strength of the three in front of us had increased. On the other hand, the three zombies were still full of confidence. But after a moment, their faces filled with shock. The second-tier zombie standing in front of them was now even more powerful than in the first battle. The zombie bull lying on the ground was still breathing, but its eyes were filled with displeasure. "Were you hiding your true strength?" But I wasn't interested in his words at all. I crushed his head with one foot, but this time I didn't immediately move on. Instead, I stopped and carefully observed the bodies of the three zombies. Countless tentacles emerged from the flash wall. They wrapped around the three corpses, and the next moment, they vanished completely. About 3 minutes later, the three figures rushed towards me again with a fierce aura. This time, their strength had increased even more than before. But I wasn't someone who just kept eating. I knew how to strengthen myself by fighting. On top of that, there was unlimited self-service here, and a training room where monsters never ended. How could I leave such a place? When the three of them looked at me, they were even more shocked than I was because I, too, had become stronger than before. Another fierce battle ensued. The humanoid zombie's eyes were filled with shock before dying a short while later. His initial scornful gaze had now completely vanished. "Our Lord has given us greater strength than before, so how is your strength increasing faster than mine?" I simply looked at him expressionlessly and said in a calm voice, "Is that so? Is that so? Perhaps you guys are just too weak." With that, I tore off a chunk of the zombie bull's body and sat down and began eating it, hitting it. But it was strange. It tasted exactly like the flesh of Flash Mountain. Were all these zombies made from this very flesh? Meanwhile, on the other side, 3 men and a woman, the 4 commanders, were sitting together, resting. Their eyes were fixed on the front. Despair slowly began to settle in their hearts. After entering Flash Mountain, not only had their strength been suppressed, but they were also held back by 2 zombies that kept coming back to life. Initially, they tried to break through the flash wall and escape, but no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't open it.